Howdy, folks. Happy Thursday. It's NFL Draft Day, which has always been something that I've been interested in, even though my interest in the NFL has gone up and down because the league is really a cesspool. But yeah, I know we're going to talk about this, Russ, but it's funny. And people don't remember this, but the NFL draft used to be held in like some ballroom in New York City.
Well, that was the original.
Yes, I mean I've been watching the NFL draft since it was on ESPN, and Pete Rozelle was the commissioner, and it was held on like a Monday afternoon or Monday morning or Tuesday morning, and I used to like fake being sick from school,
right,
to stay home and watch the draft. And it wasn't the extravaganza that it is now. And the thing I hate about it now is it's going to start at 7:00. Jacksonville knows they're taking Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. They're not going to walk right up and say Trevor Lawrence. They have to give the friggin' networks enough time to show their B-roll of him throwing touchdown passes at Clemson and talk about how this is a great pick, or talk about talk about it after the pick. Don't talk about it before. I mean,
the NHL does the same thing. Most of the time they know.
But the NHL, what's for the first round? What is it? 5 minutes? 10 minutes?
5 minutes, yeah.
5 minutes. It's 15 minutes for the NFL.
I know. It's 3 days now. Like it's a beast in what it is. I went in 2000, and that was. And for a long time, that's where they were holding it at the theater at MSG.
Thanks, Timothy.
So, and it was fun at MSG, and that was the year that Jets took Pennington, and that was there was some hope there. I feel like even though Zach Wilson could be terrific, and I wrote a really good article about him, I think there's a lot to like.
Right.
I can't say I'm as hopeful with that pick as I was even with Pennington, who I knew very little about. So. And I just think that's the current state of the team and everything else. When I look at this draft, though, and here, this team might trade up and that team might trade up. I'm getting the feeling that you might find one team that gets to trade up into the top 10, and that's it. Maybe one.
Yeah, that it's a lot of bull crap.
Yes.
Yeah, because Todd McShay a couple days ago said, well, the Buffalo and the Bills are at 30. And this is, okay, in the era of COVID right now with places closing early, my friends and I, we have a tradition of finding a place in Buffalo that has good wings and some beer, and hang out for a while and watch the draft and wait until the Bills pick. Well, the Bills are picking 30. There's no guarantee. They said last year that the 30th pick went at about 11:30, and because of COVID,
nobody will be open.
Are closing at 11, so we could find out as we're driving home from closing the place that who the Bills picked, or they could trade up, or they could trade out of the first round. So That's what I mean. It's like 15. If there will be, I would say 3 or 4 teams that will pick within 5 minutes of like the clock starting. Every single one of them are going to let the clock run down to like 3 minutes, and it's such crap. It really is. It's a waste of time.
But at the end of the day, they'll drag it out a bit. The Jets had 2 first-round picks. I'll see what they do with their second one. We'll see what kind of real dealing goes on. I think it's going to be predictably quarterbacks. I think the quarterbacks are going to go top 4. You might even see 5. Well, you can't see 5 because of Cincy. Top 4, unless Cincy trades out. Like maybe someone says, "Hey, trade with us, and you can still get Sewell here." And I'm not even convinced they're going to get Sewell, but they probably will.
Well, the crux of the first round apparently is going to be Atlanta, because Atlanta's got the 4th pick. Everybody knows the first 3 picks are going to be quarterbacks. We don't know who the 3rd pick is. It could be Mac Jones. It could be Lance. But that San Francisco pick is going to be a quarterback. At 4, there's a lot of talk about them taking the tight end Kyle Pitts, who I don't know much about because I really don't watch college football, but everybody's saying that he's like the best tight end since the guy for Kansas City.
Oh, you're talking about Kelsey.
Kelsey, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I would say is it, I don't know. He doesn't remind me of a Kelsey. He reminds me more of Kittle from San Fran.
And
to be honest, and who's really good. And the Jets didn't pick him, and they could have. So
yeah, I don't think anybody could complain about either one of those guys. But if Atlanta takes him, then the draft goes in a certain direction. And if Atlanta trades out of 4 and gets a bunch of draft picks and moves down, and the other team takes the quarterback, then it could affect the rest of the rest.
We'll see how that goes. Mob Talk is like asking, "Did I get my Schitt's Creek Funkos yet?" Mob Talk, look up, look directly behind me. That is a complete set behind me.
Okay.
This is like the David one, and then the whole set's back here. So yeah, got it covered.
I've got books. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Thursday, April 29th, 2021.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. Okay, let's start where all good things must start, with the Toronto Maple Leafs, who clinched a playoff spot yesterday in the North Division with a 4-1 victory over the Montreal Canadiens. Now, I just wrote in my piece for Hockey Buzz, Montreal was on their 4th game in 6 nights. They were without Carey Price. They were without Jonathan Drouin, who has taken a leave of absence, which is a little mysterious.
Yeah.
Without Brendan Gallagher. And they had just won a game against Calgary that essentially iced their playoffs. It's not mathematically.
It doesn't really matter what they do now.
Yeah, right, exactly. So there wasn't a lot of motivation there other than the fact that this is the team they were going to play. They're likely going to play in the first round of the playoffs. And honestly, if the first round is that easy, the Leafs have nothing to worry about. Now, obviously, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think the games.
The Leafs are very good at clinching. At the rest of the stuff, not as good.
Right, exactly. So they play Montreal 3 straight games in the next week, I believe. 3rd through the 9th of May, they play them. They play the Habs 3 times. I have a feeling those games will be a lot tougher, Russ, than the game last.
Maybe not the first one, maybe the last 2.
Right, and
they're going to take their foot off the pedal for at least one of them, maybe even 2 of them.
Yeah,
both teams.
But I also can see, and the Leafs still have something to play for. They're up 7 points on Edmonton. Edmonton's got 2 games in hand. It's not out of the realm of possibility that Edmonton catches them. Although it would take a massive choke job by the Leafs to not finish in first in the North. But it would be the difference between playing Winnipeg in the first round or playing Montreal.
Yeah, I think we're at a point now where for every good game there is on the schedule for the NHL, there's going to be 3 really mediocre games.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you shouldn't watch your team play, but I'm just saying as we get closer here, everything is just going to mean a little bit less until the playoffs start. Well, yes, they're going to play. Yes, they're going to play fairly hard. They're not. These teams that have already decided, even if they're jockeying for playoff position, are not going to leave it all out on the ice for these last 6, 7, 8, 9 games. They're not going to do that.
Right. And here's something that we talked about earlier, and really I've railed against what the NHL is doing with Vancouver, and Vancouver,
it's really not great.
I mean, Vancouver, Vancouver, the COVID coma has commenced with the Canucks as we thought it was going to. It didn't happen at the very beginning. They on pure adrenaline and the goaltending of Braden Holtby beat the Leafs 2 games in Vancouver, and then I think they won another game, and then all of a sudden they've lost 2 to Ottawa. And this is the situation here is, if Calgary is mathematically eliminated before what was supposed to be the end of the regular season, which was, I think it was the 12th of May. They have 3 games against Calgary. Vancouver does.
Yeah.
Those games will be meaningless, meaning they may start the North Division playoffs while those games are still being played if they don't factor in the playoff matchups. So you're going to have 3 meaningless Calgary Vancouver games that could be played at a practice facility for all those,
Right.
and it's not going to be on the radar because the playoffs will be going on at that time. So who the frig is going to care about Calgary?
You know it's not going to be this seamless, Mike. You laid out a scenario where the playoffs could be held up a week.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I think that's going to happen just because it shouldn't happen.
Well, scheduling wise, they have to plan for both eventualities.
Right.
I mean, in a perfect world, Montreal clinches the playoff spot, before those 3 games between Calgary and Vancouver, or Calgary has a losing streak. But if they stay within mathematical, Montreal would have to be more than 6 points up on Calgary to not have to not have those games mean anything and to not delay the playoffs. But if it delays the playoffs, then you could have the playoffs start for the North Division only on, say, May the 20th, and to catch up with the other divisions, they might have to play like back-to-back games and things of that nature.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. But again, as far as that Leafs game, Jake Allen, we know he's not good enough to help the Canadians in the playoffs. He was just there to take the heat off of Carey Price. That's it. Like that play behind the net that led to the 4th goal was awful. But
the Matthews goal was incredible. I mean, I mean, that I'm a harsh critic of.
Yeah, Matthews. Listen, good on him. He's going to win the Richard. Ovechkin's missing some games now, and he just didn't have enough to be able to catch a guy like Matthews this year. Even though that was my pick, I'm happy for Matthews. I think this is good for the league.
Yeah, it is, and I mean. But I think what you're going to see, and he's got I think it's a 7 or 8 goal lead on Rantanen, or I don't know if McDavid passed him with a hat trick, but he's got a sizable lead. So that might, I mean, I know he wants to win it, obviously. He almost won the Rocket Richard last year. So I know they want to rest people. They want to do a little load management with some of their older players. I don't know what's going to happen tonight since Thornton and Spets have played really well last night against Montreal. This might be an opportunity to give them a rest and play Engvall and other players.
And there's no reason to keep playing those guys a lot.
Right. They will be better and they will be more effective as fresh players going into the playoffs, especially. I mean, I have to say that 4th line, it's like, everybody was ready to say, to get a shovel and dig the grave of Joe Thornton. Joe Thornton has played really well lately. He really has. So he was probably just conserving his energy and, knowing when to turn it on. It's like for a month he was absent without leave, but now
good question. David asks, when was the last time an American won the Rocket? I can't remember his name, but was it the Sharks player that
Chichu,
yeah. I
thought Kane won the Rocket. Did Kane ever win it? Well,
I thought Chichu won it one year and then he fell off completely.
Yeah, well, let's see. Rocket Richard winners. We're doing a little search as we go here.
Good question, because I never really thought about it.
Yeah, no, I haven't either. Let's see. Pasternak, Ovechkin, Crosby, Ovechkin. Oh, wow, God. Corey Perry, Stamkos, Vinny Lecavalier. This is back to 07. Yeah, Jonathan Chichu, 2006. I didn't know he was American.
Yeah, I think he's from. I forget where he's from. I'm pretty sure he is though.
Jonathan Chichu, no, Moose Factory, Canada.
He's Canada, so he's not even American. I thought for some reason he was. So go further. Who is it then?
Iginla, 04, Nash, Kovalchuk, Hayduk, Iginla, Bure, Solani. I don't think an American has ever won.
Americans never won it.
Well, then Austin Matthews will be the first.
Yeah.
So that's I mean, I thought Kane had won it, but no. So
I don't know why I thought Chichu was an American. I don't know why. Who knows?
Now the Oilers beat the Jets 3-1 last night. The Oilers' record against the Jets, I'm pulling it up now. It's something ridiculous. I mean, the Oilers really have had their number. Here we go. Okay, 1-0.
Oh yeah, see, Jerk Paul figured it out for me. It's because he's of Indian descent that probably confused me. Even though, of course, there's natives in Canada too, but that's probably what confused me about him.
The Oilers have won 6 in a row against Winnipeg. 6 in a row. Now, that could mean absolutely nothing when it comes to the
I'm not going to put too much into it.
But
I'll put a little bit into it, but I'm not going to put too much into it because when the rubber meets the road, if all of a sudden the top line's not scoring the way it has been, they got a problem. We know that. So
now I'll say this. I would be surprised if Winnipeg isn't a lot more physical when it comes to the playoffs.
Yeah, they will be.
Against now, and this is the other thing. Tippett, I don't know whether Tippett can afford to put Draisaitl on the wing with McDavid in a playoff scenario, because if you shut them down, which is easier said than done, I know, but then you really have no other secondary scoring. It makes more sense to split them up, maybe put them on the same power play, but split them up, have Draisaitl playing center on the second line, have Nugent Hopkins.
I mean, that would be ideal to start the playoffs.
Right, and Winnipeg is one of the few teams that could match up with that because they could put
If you put them all on one line, you're making it easy for Winnipeg.
Right. But I think Winnipeg can deal with it with Scheifele and Dubois as the 1-2. But I mean, obviously, McDavid has been able and Draisaitl have been able to take advantage of Winnipeg's defense, and that's been their Achilles heel. And Jordy Ben was not enough of an upgrade to really help them.
No, it's going to be up to Hellebuck to elevate his game. It really will be. Yeah.
Now, other games last night, the Blues beat the Wild 4-3. And looking at that division,
boy, Robert Thomas with the big game winner.
And you know what? It's funny because everybody was.
He's one of those guys, by the way. He is one of those guys that could be laying in the weeds, but he's got a hell of a shot, man. And he has won big games before.
3 years ago, we mentioned the names when we were talking about the Blues. We mentioned the names of Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou.
Yeah.
And 3 years later, who are two of their best players?
They're there.
Thomas and Jordan Kyrou.
And they brought him up the right way. They have. Right. I mean, Thomas was right away, but for Kyrou, they've really done the right way.
Right. Now, St. Louis is now 3 points ahead of Arizona and has 3 games in hand on the Coyotes. So I'm ready to. Where's the shovel? Let me throw the dirt on the Coyotes.
Yeah. I'm thinking what they do 1 year. I think Thomas went back for 1 year and then he joined the NHL, and then Kyrou, I think he spent 3 years in the AHL.
He spent at least 2.
At least 2. Yeah. So
now St. Louis, interesting little stat here. Since the trade deadline, Mike Hoffman has scored 7 goals. It was simply. I mean, I don't know. We remember.
I think they were riding him to get production out of him. I think that was the motive all along. Was just to kind of get him in gear. Because let's face it, he has had those kind of moments before where, you feel like you do have to sort of give him an extra push. And I think that's all they were doing.
And Zach in the chat just mentioned what I was going to bring up. Klim Kostin, who was, I believe, a first-round pick.
He was.
In 2016, maybe?
Yeah, 16 sounds about right.
Yeah, he was on Avangard Omsk. Or he was either on Omsk or CSKA Moscow because no, he was on Omsk because he won. Now he's free to join the Blues, and he would only have to wait for the quarantine.
Right. It's a good physical player to just add in or put in when you need him on the fourth line. That's fine. That's a good addition.
Now Minnesota missed an opportunity to eclipse the Colorado Avalanche because they're 1 point behind the Avalanche, and Colorado lost to Vegas.
I watched that game, and I wouldn't put it all at the feet of Devin Dubnyk because he was making some pretty good saves, but there were some times where he was just under siege, and like Devin Taves had a bad turnover, and there were a few times where there were some gaffes on the Avalanche defense. Guys like Stone looked good. Pacioretty got a few breaks.
Mm-hmm.
They're rolling right now, so it looks like Vegas is really good, but we also know that Vegas doesn't have the most lockdown defense in the league either. So I do feel like if these teams were to match up, it'd probably go 7.
Yeah. Now, right now it seems locked in Vegas, St. Louis, Colorado, Minnesota. In my mind, Colorado's got the more difficult first round match.
Can we at least say now that Arizona's done?
Yes. Here, Arizona, here you go.
Even though Phil Kessel got his 18th goal last night, they're done.
Yes, they're 3 points behind, but St. Louis has 3 games in hand. Yeah, that's the bigger thing. That's up.
Once you gave a team like that with experience just that little bit of a chance, it's over.
Even if they win 2 of the 3 games, they're 7 points up on Arizona. So no. Yeah. So yeah. Now I don't know how long he's been back, but Pietrangelo was back in the lineup for Vegas, which is good news. I mean, he may have been back for a while. I just really haven't been tracking the Golden Knights, but
I haven't been tracking that either.
But it's going to be, the dynamic of Vegas versus St. Louis and Pietrangelo playing against his former team in a playoff scenario will be kind of. That'll be appointment television to watch how that plays out. But I think Colorado's got the more difficult first-round match. Minnesota has had a really good year. I don't know who they're going to go with in goal. Are they going to go with Talbot over Kakkonen? Who knows?
Seems like they might.
Yeah, he
is experienced.
Yeah, the experience factor is in favor of Talbot. So, let's see. There were a couple other games. San Jose beats the Coyotes 4-2. As he said, I think the Coyotes are done. And Anaheim beats the LA Kings 3-2. And this morning, it was announced that Ryan Miller will retire at the end of the year. And I wanted to talk about that. Obviously Ryan Miller was well loved in Buffalo for a number of years. They got to consecutive conference finals with Miller as their goaltender. Was drafted, I think he was 5th round pick out of Michigan State.
Yeah, 5th sounds about right for him.
Sort of
highly touted.
Yeah, and came out of college. I think he spent much time. I'm going to look up his record.
I don't think he was in Rochester for a year.
Yeah, I don't even think it was that much but it was. Let's see if I would say he played half a season there, but let me. Okay, he played 3 years at Michigan State. No, I'm wrong on this one. Okay, he played 47 games in Rochester in 02-03, then played 2 years of over 60 games with Rochester. One of the years was the strike year, was the lockout.
Okay, so he had no choice on that year. So
right.
Yeah, it's probably a year more than I thought he would have otherwise. I mean, I've covered him in the playoffs. I went and covered a game in Buffalo when the Flyers were playing against them, and Miller was in there. That was when Hitch and Lindy were very volatile, and I still have Hitch cursing on tape on that post game. And then just when Miller would come through, he had his good days and bad days, but he always talked to the media. Sometimes he was snippy, sometimes he wasn't. But he was a great competitor. I was always amazed when I would see him in the locker room how skinny this guy was. And he really was. And even just like thin ankles. Like it's amazing the amount of games he was able to play and what he was able to do without like any extra muscle I'm sure he's strong, don't get me wrong.
Wiry. He's very wiry.
He's definitely wiry. And so without that muscle exterior to sort of protect him. But when he was locked in, Ryan Miller was as good as anybody. He is not going to make the Hall of Fame because, as someone pointed out, Tom Barrasso can't get in the Hall of Fame. So
right. I mean, he didn't win
Tom Barrasso.
He didn't win a Stanley Cup, but okay. And now, for just on the observation you just made, I lived in the same neighborhood as he did for a number of years. He lived on the same street that I did, so I bumped into him a number of times at like local like cafes and restaurants.
Right.
Yeah. Though every time I saw him, I'm like, this guy's really an athlete. I mean, he's just.
I know.
tall, thin guy, and sort of kept to himself, very quiet. And
he had his grungy hair,
yeah, he had the cap on. He looked like Kurt Cobain with the winter cap when it was 80 degrees in summer.
Yeah,
but sort of unassuming guy. But as for let's not debate the Hall of Fame. Let's debate greatest American goalie, because Barrasso is up there. And remember, Tom Barrasso has won two Stanley Cups. He was drafted in the top 10 of, I think it was the 83 draft. I think it was 5th overall out of Acton Boxborough High School in Boston, and stepped into the NHL out of high school and won the Vezina and won the Calder in the same year, and then won consecutive Stanley Cups with Pittsburgh. I don't know how. I mean, I know why he's not in the Hall of Fame, because he's got the reputation of being a jerk.
Yeah.
But the resume is there for.
No, the resume is good. I mean, I would put him in. Look, Mr. Zero is number one. There's no beating him.
Frankie Brimsick, yeah.
Frank Brimsick's number one. There's no beating him. I do still think Mike Richter is number 2.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to beat Mike Richter, and then I think you do have. I think then the debate wages.
Then I think it's Barrasso.
Yeah, I think Barrasso probably is that next guy.
Now I think that Miller probably slips in 4th ahead of John Van Beesbroek.
Yeah, I think Miller's just ahead of Van Beesbroek.
Yeah, but you could say that. I mean, I don't know if Winnipeg is going to win Stanley.
Someone has a question mark for Richter. Really? What's the question mark? With the World Cup and a Stanley Cup?
Stanley Cup and a World Cup. I mean, okay.
When the World Cup was impossible for the U.S. to win.
Now Cameron has Jonathan Quick.
Jonathan Quick is in there.
Now he won 2 Stanley Cups.
I know he won 2 Stanley Cups. Here's the thing. I am prorating what Mike Richter would have done if he didn't have a skull fracture.
Right.
That literally killed his career. If you remember back in 2000, the All-Star game was at MSG, and they had that quick shot competition, and goalies were doing that. And Richter tore his ACL during that competition, right? So they never did that again. So that was the first thing that happened to Richter. But that skull fracture is what killed his career, because he was still pretty effective at that point. There's been a lot of ineffectiveness for Jonathan Quick for the last 3, 4, 5 years.
Yes.
So, yes, he has that extra Stanley Cup. I don't think he's better than Richter. I don't.
Yeah. Now, okay, Miller currently his record is 390, 289, and 87. Career goals against of 2.64 and a 914 save percentage. I'm going to look up John Van Beesbroek just to see.
Beesbroek didn't have a good Olympics either. He was a backup.
Right.
So that's the other thing. If he was a starter in the Olympics, that might have helped him.
Now, Van Beesbroek has more wins but more losses, 374, 346, and 119. His career save percentage is under 900, but you got to remember that he played in the wide open. He played in the wide open offensive area.
Look, I mean, not only was he great with the Rangers, but he also was great until he put his arm through a plate glass table that lacerated his wrist. But when he lost the job to Richter, that was because Richter was better, and Richter stayed better than Van Beesbroek. Van Beesbroek's time with the Panthers was incredible in the sense that there's no chance they were making the Stanley Cup without John Van Beesbroek. That was just unbelievable play by him. But again, he didn't do anything in the Olympics either. And so that's another thing where he had a chance to do something else.
Richter's career save percentage is 904. 301 victories, 258 losses.
Right, but his career was not long.
His career was 11, 12, 13, 13 seasons.
For a goalie, it's not that long. For what we talk about, a lot of goalies that have lasted, over time.
Yeah. So
in those last 2 seasons by Richter, he didn't play even full seasons.
No, he didn't. And early in his career, he was, splitting time with Van Beesbroek when he.
Yeah.
Now, Barrasso.
Tim Thomas. The problem with Tim Thomas is he didn't play enough. The legend of Tim Thomas is greater than Tim Thomas. He had a couple of years where he was the best goalie in the NHL, no question about it. But
Tim Thomas was the best goalie in 2011.
Yeah, but he would still. I mean, again, the Tim Thomas that ended his NHL career was completely awful with Atlanta, right?
Right.
So Tim Thomas is in the middle of the list somewhere.
Barasso's career save percentage, and this might also keep him off. His career save percentage was .892.
Yeah, but again, that era.
He played in the Gretzky era, in the Lemieux era.
What's Grant Fuhrer's career save percentage?
Yeah, 369, 277, and 86 for Barasso. But again, the hardware is, let's see, Grant Fuhrer. Okay, Grant Fuhrer. Hold on. Save percentage, 887.
That's what I'm saying. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You can't hold that save percentage against these guys.
Right.
It was the wild, wild west of scoring.
Right, and you can't match a guy like Brimzik's statistics because he played.
No,
he played in the 40s. I mean, the one argument against Brimzik is that he played through the war years.
He did, but the thing about it is the shutouts.
Yeah, he had 40 shutouts in 10 seasons,
which you can't take that away from him.
Right. Yeah, 252 wins, 182 losses, 80 ties, 2.70 career goals against.
I mean, the 252 wins, a lot of goddamn wins.
Yeah, that's the averaging 25 a year for 10 years.
And for a league that played how many games?
48. They I think it was 40. I'm pretty sure it was 40.
It's something in that range. And so think about the percentage of wins he had for his team.
Yeah, when it was only the 6 teams, they played 60 games, so they played each team 12 times. But you think the North Division will be sickening if they play an 82 game schedule and they can only play in Canada? I mean, that's what the original 6 was. They took the train trip to Montreal and Detroit 6 times a year.
Yeah, Thomas may have a career save percentage of .920. But again, he played in a different era. And again, he didn't play nearly as long as some of the other goalies that we're talking about too.
Yeah. Interesting little discussion. But Ryan Miller, I know that in Buffalo, he'll be looked upon as, probably in Sabre history, he'll be behind Hasek.
Oh, yeah.
But I think in Sabres history, he eclipses Barasso. He's probably the second best Sabres goaltender in their history.
I think he could still get a job with the Bandits. I mean,
he doesn't smoke enough cigarettes. Okay. Now, speaking of the Sabres, and I know this has been a bone of contention for you, as Davey in the chat says, they're playing Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen for the 3rd time.
Yeah, I don't see why.
Well, the reason why, and I'm not saying this is a valid reason why, but Linus Ullmark and Carter Hutton are both injured, and the reports are they're not going to play for the rest of the season. So they're going to play Tokarski down the stretch most of the games. But I mean, if you want to give him a game or two, fine. I just don't. I don't like alternating him and Tokarski. They could play Hauser. It doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? They're allowed.
I mean, I just don't think he's quite there. I see he's got a good save percentage. You got to win. Like, let it. You're just asking for trouble if you keep throwing him out there, and I just don't like it.
Yeah. Okay. In some league news, Aaron Portzline reporting that the NHL expects to receive the final expansion payment from the Seattle Kraken on Friday, which will officially bring them in the league, and that kicks in Ron Francis's ability to make trades, to sign players, and that the expansion money will be dispersed to NHL owners. And believe me, I'm sure they're counting every dollar.
Oh yeah, they're going to look at their bank accounts that day and waiting for the electronic transaction. They are.
Like people waiting for the $1,400 in the U.S.
Yeah. Who's the first person Ron Francis should sign as a free agent?
Nathan Gerbe. No, just kidding.
I like Nate Gerbe. Listen, he's had a nice little career.
Well, I mean, okay, he can't sign anybody. He he could sign somebody in the KHL who's a free agent.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody out of the hey, he could sign Ilya Kovalchuk.
I'm going to go a big fat no with that.
Just Nail Yakupov. There you go.
So let's see. That's a good question.
Well, hey, if he wants to hope that he can match the mojo of the Vegas Golden Knights, he could sign Reed Duke.
Yeah.
Because Reed Duke was their first signing.
Yeah. That'd be funny. Could that be like another team signing David Need when the Colorado Rockies had him, and he wasn't much.
Well, maybe he'll go down the road of former Seattle franchises and sign Jim Zorn and Sean Kemp or Jack.
You know what I'm going to do? I mean, is this? I can't seem to find out that the contract with Bracco run out on Carolina.
He's over in Finland.
Right. So, but is it there?
Yeah,
right.
They terminated.
Right. So if they terminated that'd be the guy I sign. I'm bringing Jeremy Bracco in. There's a potential there to get a 50-point guy and bring him in. Doesn't make him the face of the franchise, just makes it a deal because you can get him. There is somebody in Russia, though. Hold on. Let me look it up. I definitely would make a Russian signing, too, because why not? You can get some headlines.
Josh Hosang. Okay. Jeremy Bracco in 24 games with Kalpa in the SM Liga has 17 points, 2 goals, 15 assists.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a high scoring league. That is pretty good offensive production for somebody. I mean, okay, he's got 17 points in 24 games. The leading scorer on that team in the Finnish league has 36 points in 57 games. So if you prorate his points per game, Jeremy Bracco would be leading in scoring.
I mean, I'm telling you, this guy can play hockey. I've seen him enough to know what he can do, and I would definitely do it. Actually, I wonder if the Rangers will get Rykov now, because he's probably done with Siska.
Yeah, I mean all these players. It depends on if their KHL contracts have expired or they have. If they haven't signed their NHL deals already, then the only thing that could really happen is these players come over and play in the American Hockey League,
right?
And then their contract will kick in the following year. Oh, I need to mention this just because Shipachyov. Yeah, no, he's not coming back to North America. I need to mention this because I just thought it was laughable. But I don't get me wrong, I understand the reasons why, because of the limitations in terms of COVID in Canada. But the announcement now, the Marlies shut down for 2 weeks because of a positive case. They're resuming their schedule. I think it's this week after being off for 2 weeks. But in the same announcement, they announced, oh, by the way, the North Division is not going to participate in the Calder Cup playoffs. So they played this season. They started in February again and playing against the same 4 teams, and now they're not going to be even involved in the playoff mix. Well, I mean, other than getting these players just a chance to get their blood flowing and play against competition, what was the point of this in the AHL in the North Division?
I don't know. I do have my guy that I'd sign, though. Okay. I think the rights have expired because of this weird way that Maxim Shalunov's season on that career has gone. But he was their second leading scorer, and I actually saw that he was close to the playoff record because I get these emails from the KHL, close to the playoff record in points. He's only 26. He's got skills, man. I mean, that's the kind of guy now. If his rights have truly expired, I'd get him.
You're getting emails from the KHL? Are they sending like secret
No, they send me stats and various pictures and
it's various pictures of Hunter Biden holding. Never mind, just kidding.
Yeah, see, I think his rights may have expired when he played the one season with the Toledo Walleye in the ECHL.
Okay.
Well, no, but no, you know what? His NHL rights indefinitely.
Yeah, they don't.
No, it's still indefinite. I thought maybe that broke it. No, it's still indefinite. I would trade with the Blackhawks and get his rights.
Okay. In some news and notes here, Philadelphia, the Flyers announced that Carter Hart is going to be sitting out the rest of the regular season, or the rest of the season because they're not making the playoffs, with an MCL sprain in his left knee. Now, I didn't see an announcement of when he suffered that injury.
No, I did. And actually, I watched the press conference when Alain Vigneault was asked about Carter Hart, and he's like, well, it's taking a little longer. And then when that happened, I realized they were shutting him down. That's when I figured out they were shutting him down. They were playing Elliott every night. And so, because at this point, he's already had mental problems, mental issues as far as, just, and it's not like, mental illness. Don't go there, people. But It's just, mental problems with the game, right? He had some of those this year. Definitely had some physical problems with the game as far as mechanics goes. So again, why not shut him down? You don't want this to be a lingering thing over the summer. You want him to get into camp as early as you can to make a fresh start. And the fresh start probably means a new goalie coach too. Yeah. And so and I think that's the best thing for him. So yeah, let him, get mentally stronger over the summer, do a lot of, mental exercises and those kinds of things. He'll do that. Let him work on different things this summer. I would have him doing some different things this year, and hopefully, that'll help him. But yeah, there was what was it going to do for him coming back from this?
Yeah, right. I mean, I think it was basically once they were eliminated from the potential of, and realistically, maybe it's not mathematical, but realistically, they're not making the playoffs. So once that was clear, then, if there's anything physical, I mean, most of these teams, if there's a player who's playing through it and they're not making the playoffs, they're shutting them down because
they're all getting shut down. I mean, and it's like we always say, nobody's really healthy this time of year, but these guys play through these injuries all the time. And once they're out of it, then that's when, they get shut down.
Yeah. We'll take some questions in the chat, but a couple more things here. Kevin Ball is making his debut for the New Jersey Devils. Kevin Ball was a 6'7" defenseman who was part of the Taylor Hall deal. So again,
he's a good skater for a guy his size, especially. I think there's a little something there. I don't know if he has put it all together just yet. So we'll see. They're going to have to figure that one out too, because otherwise they're going to have to make changes to their blue line again. Although, look, I mean, at the end of the day, and I had never done the article, but I was going to, with Murray and Severson knowing each other so well, and that wasn't bad for them.
No.
But they need to add to that blue line because Subban's not very good. Ty Smith's good, but they have work to do there. So, look, and Zaka's really had a nice season this year, and I'm happy for him. There's some pluses there, but they're just not a full team. There's parts there that are good, but they can't seem to put it together.
And, I mean, I would be shocked if they don't now, I don't believe Subban has a no move because he's been traded a couple times. But I'd be shocked. They're not going to buy him out because they need to get to the cap floor. But he's got $1 million. He's got 1 year left at $9 million. I don't think there's any way they're able to trade him in the offseason, even if they retain 50%. I think he's just going to play out the final year of that contract. And then if he
hang on, I gotta stop this. So I don't know. Joe's pointing out that Billy Smith has a career save percentage of .895. You had to watch Billy Smith play to appreciate the goalie. You can't go with stats on Billy Smith's career. You can't, because he did split a lot of time with Chico Resch.
Yeah. Again, anybody who played through the, 70s through the late 90s, their save percentages are not going to be like 920. They're going to be like 890 because the equipment was not as good. And, they were smaller goaltenders. And they were playing against, they were playing against Gretzky and Bernie Nichols and Trottier and Bossy and Curry. I mean, it was just like
there were guys with 199-point seasons.
Yeah, I mean, right, exactly. Guys like Rick Vive scored 50 goals 3 times, and he scored goals that nowadays nobody scores anymore. Rick Vive's prototypical goal was walking over the blue line at maybe the top of the faceoff circle along the boards and blasting it. And he would score a lot. And now no goaltender, unless it's David Riddick against Vancouver last week, is allowing those goals. Nobody. Now, I mentioned this earlier, but
actually, there's a good question here. I'll answer it. Bill C says, Kaprizov was called the best player not in the NHL for a long time. Who's that player now? I think it's Lucas Raymond.
Yeah, very possible.
I think it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be somebody at the top of the draft in the last couple drafts, and he was, 4th by Detroit?
And I want to just look at the year he had. I remember he was off to a good start. So he had 18 points in the SHL in 34 games.
As an 18-year-old.
I mean, he was a point a game in the World Juniors. Yeah, I think it's Lucas Raymond.
Yeah, and I know Quentin Byfield made his.
He's 19 now. He must have just. Oh, yeah, his birthday's in March.
Yeah, Quentin Byfield made his debut last night for the LA Kings.
Yep. They've done it the right way with him, by the way.
Yeah,
I very much applaud them. He got a chance to sort of break into the other league. He got a chance to see what professional hockey was like from the sense of a physical nature, because even though he's not the most physical guy, he's a big guy, right? So he's going to attract that kind of attention. I think he's come around really well, and he did some good things yesterday. I don't think he put a point on the board yet, but that's fine.
Right. Now you could contrast that to what Anaheim has, how Anaheim has approached Trevor Zegras. And the thing is, Zegras, I mean, I think he has shown he played 17 games with San Diego in the AHL, and he's averaging over a point per game.
Right.
So clearly.
But again, the AHL is a little easier than it's been too.
Right.
Be fair about that. Yeah.
But clearly he's had success at that level, so they wanted to test him and give him some opportunities in the NHL. And he's got 7 points in 18 games, which for a 20-year-old kid is not shabby.
No, it's not shabby. I think the big thing for Zegras is the way he skates. Like, Byfield's a fast straight line skater. Mm-hmm. Zegras really works the edges and reminds me a lot of Jack Hughes' skating in certain circumstances. So when you have that kind of skating, then the elusiveness is there, and then yes, you can bring a guy up a little sooner that way.
Now, Byfield, 20 points in 30 games with Ontario, and he gets an opportunity last night. No points, and it took a penalty. But I mean, good to sort of stick your beak in the water and get a little test. I mean, I don't think that LA, maybe they play him the rest of the season because they only have 7 or 8 games left. The interesting thing here is, and I'm wondering whether NHL teams, especially when they're going to be, I think, even more budget conscious than they normally are, will hesitate. Like, okay, for example, Anaheim played Zegras more than the 7 games, so he was burning the first year of his ELC,
which is probably what the deal was anyhow.
Right, for him to sign.
Yes.
Byfield signs his ELC. More than likely, he's not going to play the 7 games.
Right.
The AHL games don't count in terms of burning the first year being activated. Now, where I'm obviously focused on is Toronto. Nick Robertson has played 6 games. Now he played 4 games in the playoffs, but I don't believe that counts toward the.
No, the playoffs don't count.
Right. So he may not play the rest of the regular season because they would lose a year on his ELC.
Right.
So I mean that's that's something that I will track. And
Yeah.
because, I mean, that, honestly, it's like if down the line they have to trade a Nylander or they can't sign a Zach Hyman, Nick Robertson is probably going to be somebody who steps into the Leafs lineup right away. Okay, Zach McMillan, what does Columbus do after massive failure of season? Laine, Domi.
That's a whole show.
Okay, yeah, I mean, okay, first things first. Torts is not back.
No. Well, they already said they're not retaining them.
Oh, did they? I missed.
I believe the word is out.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't see that, but it's not, that's not exactly breaking news. But yeah, so I mean, first thing, I think it all depends on who they hire as the new coach. I mean, okay, it's easier to fire one coach than 20 players.
Right.
Depending on what Yarmo thinks. I mean, the value on Line A is down. The value on Domi is way down. Werenski's got 2 years until he's a UFA. Jones has got a year until he's a UFA. They're going to try to get those guys signed. If they can't get them signed, then I think Yarmo is going to be preemptive and trade one of them. And sign the other one. But the thing is, he might lose both of them. If the trend continues in Columbus, everybody's leaving because everybody has left.
Yeah.
So, what he's going to have to do is be as proactive as possible. And okay.
And I'll make this clear too with the Torts thing. People are saying it. It's coming out that way. It's never going to come out officially from the team.
Right. After the Monday after the end of the regular season, they'll say, "Thank you, John, for your blah blah blah." Yeah. He's not coming. He's not coming back. But what Yarmo is going to have to do in the offseason, depending on what is going on with those two defensemen, defensemen like Werenski and Seth Jones do not grow on trees.
No.
Okay. So those are guys that you have to get. If, say, for example, because we heard the chatter about Philadelphia and Seth Jones. I don't know if it's realistic or what, but say for example, it is. Philadelphia has targeted Seth Jones. They want him.
Right. And
they want him without giving up Provorov because they want a top pairing of Jones and Provorov. Okay. Well, you can't, if you're Yarmo, you can't go out there and say, okay, give me your first round pick. And no, it's got to be players in the league. It's got to be Farabee. It's got to be, you know what I'm saying? It's got to be.
It'll be Farabee or Konechny. Right. It'll be Frost or Foss, Tyson Forster or Zayd Wisdom. And then it'll be a first-round pick also.
Right. It's got to be 2 or 3 pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't be all draft picks because, great, what is he going to do with all these draft picks?
Right.
You need bodies. You need players. And you need players that can be retained because they won't have any other choice but to stay in Columbus. Because, I mean, right now, like I said, Seth Jones is a UFA in the summer of 2022. If he isn't traded before that, even I don't care what you hear about, well, he loves Columbus. Yeah. So did Panarin. So did Bobrovsky. And where are they now?
I think he likes Columbus. Yeah. He doesn't like it enough to stay.
And, yeah, he likes Columbus, and he would stay if they make him the highest paid defenseman in the NHL.
Yeah, which they're not going to do.
Right. So they're not going to pay him $12 million a year.
I mean, they might do it for one season, but I don't think that would be enough for him.
No. I mean, this is his opportunity to get a long-term. Remember, Seth Jones was in the McKinnon draft. What is he, 25, 26? Yeah. This is maybe not his last opportunity, depending on the length of the deal. But
no, it's not his last.
But if he signs a 4 or 5 year deal, then he'd get another contract. But more than likely, he's going to look for the 8-year max deal.
Yeah.
Or 7 years, and look for probably, well, okay, Carlson's making 11.5, Doughty's making 11, Subban's making 9, Yossi, I believe, is making 9. I think Seth Jones is going to be in the between 9 and 9.5 a year.
We do have to say that the NHL just posted a statement from Gary Bettman on the passing of former Flames owner Byron Seaman. So
yeah, it was announced early this morning. I'm sure there's people who are covering the Flames who know a lot more. I know that he was an original owner, bringing the team from Atlanta, but I don't know much about Mr. Seaman. So
no, other than he was there in '80, right, and all that.
Yeah, what I remember mostly about that team when they transferred from Atlanta was playing at the Calgary Corral. And the boards were high. They had to give them special dispensation because the boards were higher than NHL regulation. They had to, I think, because they were building the Saddle Dome. Remember, the Saddle Dome was for the '88 Olympics. So I don't know how many years that they played in the Calgary Corral. It had to be at least 3 or 4. If anybody knows in the chat, let me know.
So I'm going to have an issue with Barstool here. Spittin' Chicklets just tweeted out, hey, the new NHL deal with Turner and HBO means one thing, the return of 24/7. Yeah, that's great. If the show about the Winter Classic's actually better than the Winter Classic, you got a problem. I'm worried about the actual game. I'm not worried about the show that surrounds the game.
Yeah. Okay. So the Flames played the Calgary Corral for 4 seasons, 80 through 83. So the Saddle Dome must have been built in the years before the '88 Olympics in Calgary. So
it looks like Cole Lynn's going to make his NHL debut tonight with Vancouver. He's a good player. I mean, I saw him 2 years ago in the AHL, and it was like a little spotty with his conditioning. I felt like he could have had longer shifts and maybe could have been a little better defensively, but he's a hell of an offensive talent. Like, he's got a really good shot, and he's got a knack for finding space on the ice. So we wish him good luck because he's a guy who I think could have some staying power, just needs to get some playing time. So we'll see. We'll see how Cole Lynn does for them. But that's a nice thing. That's an opportunity for him, right? So
yeah. Let's see. I'm just checking the schedule tonight. A lot of games. Vancouver.
You know what the number one game is on this show.
Well, yes, because when Eck comes back on Monday, if the Rangers have swept the Islanders, he will be, spinning party, blowing party favors,
He'll buy an Islanders jersey, a Ziggy Palffy jersey. He will.
No, Stefan Pearson. He likes the Swedes.
Who's the defenseman that always had the red face? He played for a long time for the Islanders.
Dave Langevin?
No, not that long ago. Maybe like 10, 12 years ago. Finnish guy.
Oh, no. Oh, you mean geez.
See, it's out of your head too.
No,
he always had a red face. Hold on, I could look it up.
Former Flyer.
No. He wasn't a former Flyer.
It wasn't Kenny Janssen because you said it Finn.
It was Janssen. Isn't he Finnish or Swedish?
Sweet.
Sometimes, yeah. Okay, Kenny Janssen.
No, I mean that's why I was.
I said Finn for some reason. Yeah, he's a Swede, but yeah, Kenny Janssen. He'll buy a Kenny Janssen.
I'm glad Adam said this because I thought originally you said this. Of course, I lost my curse. I thought you said this. You said Cole Lynn, but I thought you said Paul Lynn. I was like,
Paul Lynn, the center square.
Yes, and he was hilarious.
He was great.
Yeah. So Vancouver, Toronto, Dallas, Tampa. That'll be big for the Stars. Buffalo, Boston, Philly, New Jersey, Islanders, Rangers. That's the highlight of the night. Pittsburgh, Washington. That's a battle for the.
Michael Cohen says, "I'm walking to the Flyers Devils game. If I am walking to that game, it will take me like 6 hours. It's an hour and a half drive to Jersey."
Yeah, if you're no, never mind. I won't say.
I'll be going to the game on Saturday here, but I couldn't even walk to that one. It would take like 2 hours.
I was going to say something, but I'll
have to go over the bridge. Yeah, it's probably best left unsaid, Mike.
Pittsburgh, Washington, Detroit, Carolina, St. Louis, Minnesota, Florida, Chicago, and Calgary, Edmonton. So lots of games.
Yes, goalie FP had Kenny Janssen. You happy, goalie? There you go. He read my mind, even though I had the wrong nationality. There you go.
Yes, Riley Nash skated today, not in practice, but skated. So with a little over 2 weeks left in the regular season.
Did he skate with Brandon Pruss?
Jeez. No, Riley Nash has a contract.
Oh, okay.
Brandon Pruss didn't. He just was waiting around.
He was just skating around.
He had nothing to do. Why not? Hey, geez, a month into the season and he's still like skating in there doing nothing. Yes, but Riley Nash, no, that's what that jerkball. That's the whole point here. Riley Nash will not be activated off TIR. He will, and I don't think that he will start. They will not insert somebody who hasn't played a game in the regular season into the playoffs in game one. What they'll do is, if they win game one, they'll go with the same lineup. As soon as they lose a game, the first move that will be, we'll sit Pierre Engvall and play Riley Nash.
Yeah.
So, for team camaraderie.
And Cam points out that if certain things happen tonight, the Flyers are eliminated from playoff contention. What's very interesting is there's a large contingent in that fan base that will be relieved when that happens.
Yes, the lottery lovers.
No, not the lottery lovers, just to so that it's over so they don't have to stress about it anymore, because it's been sort of like a roller coaster ride this year for that team, and clearly with that. So
yeah, one of the things that we'll do, and we'll end it here, but one of the things that we'll do once
and thanks to everybody, for tuning into
Rockology. Yeah.
Rockology is doing really well. We really appreciate it.
If you're interested in, we had Eck on the show, and we talked about the top 10 keyboard players in rock, pop, music.
Keyboard and piano.
And piano players. And there were
Mike pushed the boundaries of it for sure.
Well, no, I didn't push the boundaries.
Yes, he did.
No, I didn't.
Trust me.
Believe me, Eck pushed the boundaries.
Well, I
predicted
that. You have to watch, but I predicted it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But what I was going to say is when the regular season is over with and we're not talking about playoffs, we're probably going to do reviews of some of these teams who have been eliminated from the playoffs and what they should do, what the organizations should do. But
if you want to know if Roger Hodgson made the cut, you'll have to tune in, Jerk.
Yeah, you have to watch. You have to give us a listen. So, all right. For Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching. And remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.